G'day, I'm Greg Harris, the National Director of Bush Church Aid, and I'm so glad you're watching this video. This is the first time we've done something like this, a video update just for you, our supporters, on the year that was 2025. And not only is this something I've wanted to do for a while, but it felt right to do it now because of what God did through your generosity in 2025. Well, it deserves more than a page of text and an email. It deserves a thanksgiving. So that's what this is. A report, yes, but really it's a thanksgiving for partnership. And that's exactly who you are. You're partners in taking the gospel to the rural, to the regional, and to the remote parts of this vast land. As I reflect on 2025, the word that keeps coming back to me is faithfulness. It's God's faithfulness to this mission. It's your faithfulness in prayer and in giving, and the faithfulness of our field staff serving in hard and often isolated places. So over the next few minutes, I want to show you what that faithfulness has produced. So hang in there because I think you're going to be encouraged. Let me start with our field staff, because everything we do flows from the men and women and even families who are willing to go the distance to share Jesus in the bush. Every morning in this room in the National Office, all the staff, those here and those who join us online, pray that God might raise up workers for the harvest. And in 2025, God answered our daily prayers. We welcomed 13 new field staff and their families into the BCA community, serving across all of our regions, from Emerald in central Queensland to Carnarvon in Western Australia, from Katherine in the top end, all the way down to King Island, sitting out in the middle of the Bass Strait. I want to mention some of them by name. Annette Anderson, serving as the Anglican Dean at Noongalina College. There's Lonnie Bendesi, a young Aboriginal man being trained in ministry in South Australia. And speaking about ministry training, there's Malachi Walker, who's training and serving in Geraldton in preparation to serve in a parish on his own. Staying in WA, there's Mike and Emma Wellham, who moved to Carnarvon to lead the ministry there. And then we have husband and wife team, David and Zoe Brown, as ordained ministers in the church in Gladstone, Queensland. And to top it off, we have God's gracious answer to prayers for some long-term vacancies. We have Mary and Owen Lewis on Kangaroo Island, Tom and Tanya Killingbeck on King Island, David and Joanne Piper in Emerald, and Pat and Izzy O'Keefe up in Katherine. And one final new field staff location is West Tasmania. Many years ago, BCA supported ministry in some of these small and very isolated towns in Western Tasmania. And now we return with David and Margie Williams. God has indeed raised these people up, and your support made it possible for them to go. And as much as we celebrate the new faces, ministry seasons do come to an end. So we've also said farewells, most notably to Neville and Kathy Naden, who gave 18 remarkable years to BCA, including leading so much of the Indigenous ministry work. We're deeply grateful to them. And other field staff we said farewell to are the Pharisees in Kununurra, the Hurcotts in central Queensland, the Hurleys in Broken Hill, the Polmans at Noongalina College, the Roberts in Exmouth, and the Weikarts in Central Mallee. But the need remains great. So every morning in this office, we will continue to pray to the Lord of the harvest to raise up workers. Would you also make that a daily habit? Now, I could stand here and rattle off names all day, but the truth is the best way to understand what your support does is to hear directly from those in the field. So why don't we hear directly from them and some of the impact your support is making possible?
We got Frank and Joe Nicol here. We're in Karratha, serving with the parish of the West Pilbara.
A great highlight for us in 2025 was celebrating the hope of Christ through our Christmas celebrations. Last year we were able to celebrate Christmas in a whole range of contexts. We were able to go into a local primary school and share the Christmas story with every class in that school. We were able to go out to prison and celebrate with men and women in our local prison. We were able to share the hope of Christmas with our community through our combined churches, Christmas carol service, and we were able to have services in both Roebourne and Karratha, including our kids' nativity service, which was a whole heap of fun in our own church building in Karratha, where somewhere in excess of 70 kids came along. Probably somewhere towards a third of those kids were not regular members of church, and they brought their families along. And it was just a great time of being able to share the hope of Christmas that is not being shared anywhere else but through our churches. So that was the highlight of 2025 for us.
Well, hi, I'm Topher Halliburton, and with my wife Chica and family, we're here in Alice Springs, where we serve at Alice Springs Anglican Church. One of the highlights of 2025 was restarting a Scripture Union youth camp in Central Australia. It hadn't happened in about 20 years. So it was an exciting new thing. It was great to work with some of the other churches, the Baptist Church. We have an SU worker in town that's also a new thing. So it just meant we could all start working together in a new way. It was great to have leaders from 5 churches and work alongside them, and also 50 plus young people. Now, it did have an impact in some young people, and we're very thankful to God for that. Some of them committed to sit down and reading our gospel for the first time. They grew up in a Christian house but weren't keen on reading the Bible, and so they took that extra step. Another young person at the camp said, I've actually never prayed out loud in front of other people, and so they did that for the first time. Just a simple prayer, but a big step in their walk with Jesus. They show up publicly. And so, yeah, we're excited. We're excited to be running it again in 2026, and we look forward to running it many years also. And we're just thankful that God provides the people and the place out at Ross River. It's a beautiful part of His creation to engage the young people with the good news of Jesus, and as we see it in His Word. So thanks for your support.
Hi, I'm Reverend Jude Benton, and I've been supported by BCA in the parish of Crowjingalong for the last 6 years, now living and working in Adelaide Anglican Diocese as their coordinator for ministry formation and discernment. One of our real highlights from 2025 in Mallacoota was the Ripple Effect series, which is an Australian-based series on evangelism. We chose this one because it's not a program, it's not trying to teach people a set formula, and it's not based on upfront events. It's about learning how to talk about your own faith. We had people who have been churched their whole life who this was their first opportunity to really learn how to put their faith into words and how to share that with their friends. Part of the course is praying for 5 people every day, and what we saw over the time we had this course was that people really had open doors and opportunities to share their faith with those that they were praying faithfully for. So we got a real sense of excitement and encouragement in those who were part of the journey to know more about their faith, to talk more about their faith, and to pray intentionally for their friends. And so it was a real highlight for 2025.
They are just a few of the many stories from 2025. Stories that really capture why we keep going the distance. Stories about the lost being found, disciples being made, and the church growing. This is the gospel reaching people who, without BCA-supported field staff, might never hear it. As we all know, Australia is a big country, and one of the challenges we face is that the further you move from the cities, the harder it is to find theologically trained gospel workers. The Theological Bursary Program is an answer to that. It's about investing in the next generation of Bible college students who have a heart for rural, regional and remote Australia. And in 2025, we had our largest cohort ever, 10 students from right across the country studying in 5 different theological colleges. And another exciting development coming at the end of last year was the doubling of our support for the Indigenous chaplaincy program being run at Noongalnya College in the Northern Territory. The program allows trained Indigenous chaplains to return to the college to then support the current students. The program has been so well received, it's become obvious it needed to expand, and through your support, we are able to make that happen. And speaking of what has also been well received, are our concerted efforts to raise the bar even higher on our communication with you. It's not always possible for you to go and see what impact you are making, so we want to keep you updated more regularly and updated more personally. So I sat down with Janine from our communications team to discuss these improvements. Well, Janine, I heard that our supporter base grew last year. Can you tell us more about that?
It was a really exciting time to see our supporter base grow so much. We saw just over 1,700 new people sign up with us, which means now that we've got almost 34,000 people and churches in our community. These are people who pray for our field staff, they give financially and engage with our communications. It's a big family and it's growing.
And when it came to communications, what improvements did we make?
We were really keen to improve the way supporters engage with us. One of our goals in 2025 was to make it easier for supporters to see the impact of what they're investing in. So, we've been investing in and improving the way we communicate through the Real Australian magazine, field staff newsletters, social media, and our BCA Connect events. The BCA Connect events have been a particular highlight. We now hold them in every state and region, and in some states in multiple locations. These really are a wonderful way for supporters to hear firsthand what God is doing through the people they support. And I would really encourage them to try and get along to one.
So Janine, the supporter base is growing, they're more engaged. What impact did it have?
Well, the impact of a growing and more engaged supporter base has been that in God's kindness, there was an increase in donations. We saw an almost 8% increase in the number of donors, which means we now have just over 7,000 people faithfully giving to support gospel ministry in the bush. It's super encouraging.
And so what does this mean for you personally as you serve in your role?
It really is a great privilege, encouragement and blessing to work with BCA. Behind all those supporters and donors are people and churches who agree that everyone living in the bush matters to God. And so they've decided to partner with us, giving them every chance to know Jesus.
How humbling. 7,000 donors, both individuals and churches, who believe that the bush matters. Now, because of that belief that every person in the bush should have every chance to know Jesus, I can report that you did indeed sow generously into the mission. I sat down with the other Greg in our office, that is Greg Bridge, to hear a little bit more about this remarkable year. So Greg, in financial terms, how would you describe 2025 for BCA?
2025 was genuinely one of the strongest years BCA has had. Donation income came in 19% above 2024, and that wasn't just a nice surprise, it was also 14% ahead of what we'd budgeted for. So by any measure, it was an outstanding result.
So when you then take the investment income and bequests and add them in, what's the total picture?
When you add bequests and investment returns, total income was 40% higher than 2025, reaching $6.5 million for the year. That's a remarkable position to be in, and it really reflects the faithfulness of our supporters and God's generosity to us.
So Greg, tell us what that means in practice. What were you able to do with all of those donations?
We were able to direct a higher proportion of our spending towards mission and mission support. That's exactly what our supporters want to see, more resources going directly to the work. We take stewardship seriously. Every dollar is accounted for, and our goal is to keep improving the efficiency with what we do in admin, so that more can go to mission. The fact that mission spending went up while other costs were flat, that's the story we want to tell. Your generosity is going the distance.
There you go, a 19% increase in donations, a 40% increase in total income, and all of that because of you. And all of it is being directed towards one thing: more people in the bush hearing more about the good news of Jesus. So thank you. Thank you for praying. Thank you for giving. And thank you for engaging with our field staff. Every one of those parts matters in the partnership. Now, 25 years into this century, we are looking ahead with confidence to the next 25. The next 25 field staff, the next 25 locations, and the next 25 years of ministry across rural, regional, and remote Australia. We know that too often in the bush, resources are lacking, services, they can pull back. But because of your partnership together, you and BCA can push forward, genuinely believing that every person in the bush, well, they should have every chance to know Jesus. 2025 was a remarkable and humbling year. In God's grace and in His strength, I want to invite you to keep going the distance in 2026. So please keep praying, please keep sowing into the ministry, and keep engaging. Once again, thank you and God bless.